Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of Offseason. My interview series here during the summer we do, during the dead periods, if I'm not going to hold you, man. It's your boy Scott, to follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Barbershop Scott. Follow Barbershop Network at BarbershopNet on Twitter and Instagram. Subscribe to Patreon, patreon.com/Barbershop Network. And of course, visit bcnet.com, man. And we've got another special guest with us today. This is a very, very, very special guest, man. This is a guy that I consider a friend. And it's good to have a friend on the show. My guy, Jarrett Payton. What's going on, JP?
What's up with you, fam? Like I'm honored that like during your dead time when you're not doing interviews every single day that you jumping on with me to do an interview about me. Like that's crazy.
Man, I just appreciate you, man, because I told my man Jarrett Bang this. I told my man Jack, a whole bunch of people, man, my Sean, that you the guys. I tell y'all put the battery in my back, man.
Well, guess what? I mean, we all got to have that at some point in our lives, man. Someone's got to be, that battery to tell us, like, yo, you got this. Like, we see it in you, or, you know what I mean? We all need that. And confidence is such a big thing in this world, whether you're talking about sports or whether you're talking about business, talking about podcasts, whatever it is. You got to have confidence in yourself. Understand that you will fail at some point, man, but that's a part of the process and learning from it and growing from it. So, man, I've watched you grow, fam. Like you really have grown, and you have taken it. You have taken it to another level where it's so cool now because we all get this opportunity. Where, like for me, I look at it like as being on a major label. Like for me, like there's certain things I can and I can't do. You know what I mean? And sometimes the creative juices that I have, I can't come up with everything. So I look at afar, like you being able to create the own content that you want to create. Man, like I'm envious over here sometimes, bro.
Man, it's I hear that a lot. Shout out my man Jason Leisure with the Tribune, man. He didn't say that a couple times when we cover the Bears game. He said, I love that y'all can just pretty much do what y'all want. You know what I'm saying? And that there's ups and downs to it, man. That's what I want to get into on this interview, man. The ups and downs of it, of this whole space, man. But like I always like to pinpointed to back when I first met you when I came on WGN radio. It was like 2016. Had to be not too long after the Cubs won the World Series. I remember we was taking a couple calls and things like that, and you and Sean had me on, and we had been doing 7 Night to Hallis for like a year up to that point. But that kind of like put like the battery in my back. Like, I really enjoyed doing this. Like 7 Night to Hallis was just me and my brother talking shit. This is really what that was. So this was like, I want to do this as a career, man. So I always thank you, Sean, Bang, everybody for helping me. Get started in this space, man. So,
yeah, man, those were good times, man. Sean and I at that period we knew each other for a little bit. J.R. Bang, we all knew each other from Illinois Center for Broadcasting, and then it was like everything branched out from there. Yeah. And it's very rare in this business, man, that you get an opportunity to like work with somebody at a different place. You know what I mean? Like you work with them one place and then you get to reunite with them. And so the ability to kind of be with Sean was something that it drove me. You talk about that battery in your back. Like Sean was that for me, and him and I both, we always feel like we were ahead of the time at that time in like 2016 of what our vision was and what we wanted to do. And now to see where the game is now, we're like, holy cow, man, our vision, some of the stuff that we want to do, like we were on the right track. We might not have accomplished all of it, but we had the vision. And so I remember those times, man. Those were good times. And that's when in that studio, man, we were making magic in that studio.
Yeah, that was a nice space there too. Like it was just real fun. I just really like got the bug. So it's kind of crazy like to see what both of us had like 7 years later. So but let's just get right into it, man. I always ask my guests this first question every time we start an episode. One of my favorite sports documentaries. I'm a big Kobe Bryant fan. Obviously, I'm in Los Angeles. This is Kobe world. You can't go a block out here without seeing a mural on my guy Kobe. And his documentary Muse is something I watch a lot. So I always ask, who are some of your muses? Whether it could be like, sports and just whatever. It could be somebody in your family. Like who would like the couple muses who you've always, looked up to in your life?
I mean, come on, Doc, fam. You know who it is. It's the GOAT, man. My pops, he was that for me. I grew up playing soccer all my life, like basically from 4 years old up into my going into my junior year in high school when I switched over to play football. Fam, I didn't really understand the game of football. I didn't even understand it when I played my junior and senior year. I was just like being an athlete. I was out there playing quarterback, or like Donovan McNabb. My coach was like, Kevin Kelly was like, listen, or you just roll out. If you see something that you like, throw it. If you don't, take it to the house. Just run with it. So when I got to Miami, I started to understand how tough the game of football was. And it gave me a better appreciation of what my dad was all about and how hard he worked. And yeah, I didn't really know until he passed away, is when I really started to do my homework on him and figure out, what it was all about, and his hard work and determination, and what the hill meant. And it's crazy, bro, because this past weekend, my coach Kevin Kelly, his son Peyton, who was named after my pops,
Oh,
Kevin
wow.
and my father worked out together the last 7 years of his career through in the summer.
Mm.
My dad didn't trust anybody to work out with him.
Right.
So when he met Kevin, who was in high school at Barrington High School at the time, he was like, yo, like, I believe in you. I trust you. You're going to be here with me during the summers. And so they would go to the hill and run the hill every single day in the summer. And Kevin basically like lived with us in the summertime just to like, so he could be there in the morning to get up and go with my pops in the mornings just so he could be there. They work out. And Peyton was telling me this story about how that hill was an old landfill. So there was
Right.
like broken bottles, there was glass everywhere, and there was different angles that my dad would take up. And I guess one day Kevin sliced his leg on a bottle.
Ew, I know
His
that hurt.
his leg is gushing, his leg is gushing out blood, and he looked at my dad. He questioned my dad for the first time ever, and he was like, "Walter, why are we doing this?" And Peyton told me that my dad gave his dad the death stare, like, and looked at him and said, listen, if I can make it hotter, I'll make it hotter. If I can make it more muggy out here, I'll make it more muggy. If it need to make it more human, I put more glass on the ground. I throw more glass on the ground. Like, don't ever question why we're doing this.
Why are we doing this? Right.
Dude, while his leg is bleeding,
Bleeding.
like bleeding, dude, Kevin couldn't go anywhere. It wasn't like, oh, let's get up and go, clean this off. No, they kept going. And so that motto of never die easy was something that kind of stuck with me. And that was what my dad was all about. Like not running out of bounds, hitting that defender before he would go out of bounds so they could feel him a little bit. How my dad would stretch the ball extra yard after getting tackled to get that extra yard. Like all these little things are things that I implemented into my life as I got older. And I wasn't always the hardest worker. That wasn't me. I relied on talent basically early on in my career. Even I would say going through my playing career, like I literally just relied on my talent. And when I got done playing, by the end of my career, man, there was something. I think it was going to Miami. It was understanding being around Hall of Famers like Ed Reed and hopefully soon to be Andre Johnson and Reggie Wayne and Santana Moss and like all Sean Taylor, like all these dudes watching how they worked, man, like all my muses were like in college with me, man. Like not
Right.
only that, my pops, I went to school with these dudes who were just household names. And I was putting on Twitter today, man. 38 of those guys on that 2001 Miami Hurricane squad were drafted.
That's
17 of them
that's
went,
insane.
17 of them went in the first round, dog.
That's
Like
crazy.
I was around dudes that worked hard and that came from a different background than myself. And so I learned how to work. And so now, I mean, I put it on anybody, man. And I want everybody to feel like this. I'm kind of taking this from Wayne because I know how Wayne, when he says he's the greatest rapper of all
Yeah.
time, like he's like, I want everybody to feel like this. No, I do. I just know that the time and the work that I put into my craft and everything that I do, man, I sleep literally like 5 hours a night. I grind so hard and I made all these things happen that people said I couldn't do. And that's been the big motivation It's like people, oh, you can't do this. You'll never make it to college. You'll never make it to the pros. Like, so I'm gonna show you that was my motivation of proving people wrong, but also proving to myself that I could do it as well. And so that's what I keep doing now every single day. But I look at my pops, I look at those guys that I played with at the U, and those are the guys that were the motivating factors of getting me to where I am right now.
Yeah, I love stories like that, man. I always like seeing the stories that make the greats be the greats, because one thing I always like is like, even though, your dad broke all the records, Super Bowl championship, even you can look at others, Michael Jordan, Kobe,
Yeah,
whatever. It's like we see that, but it's like we don't always see the work. You know what I'm
no,
saying? And it's like, yeah, you win the championship, but you got to get right back to
bruh,
it.
bruh, let's be real. Like, you just gave me chills. Let's be real about this because, I have an 11-year-old and a 7-year-old. My son is 11, my son Jaden, and my daughter Madison, 7, and both are athletes. And so that's what I spend my weekends doing is going to watch them play baseball, soccer, basketball, whatever it is. Man, my son is he loves watching the videos on YouTube, whether it's of other athletes, whether it's of his grandpa, and the only thing that he sees is the highlights. He only sees the good stuff. Like,
Right.
that's what we all see. We only see the good stuff, man. It's rare, even on social media, do you see people post something about bad that's going on. It's always like, oh, let's smile with my friends. We at the beach,
Yeah.
hey. And then what happens? What happens? You
Yeah.
don't like your smile. You're like, oh, no, no, no. Take the picture again. Take a big.
Yeah.
I got better. Get my better side. Like, it's always the good stuff, and you don't see all the hard work that goes into getting to that point, man. And
Yeah.
so, like, don't get blinded by the highlights in life. Like, make sure that as you walk through life, that no, you're seeing a little bit of everything. And it took me to go dig deep onto YouTube and find old full games that people posted of like the Bears from the 80s, right? And the 70s, to watch full games, to watch my pops, because dog, he was great, but he wasn't perfect. And he
Right.
wasn't perfect as a man either. Like, we all we all make mistakes. And there's certain times where I'm watching where, my biggest thing for him is he was if not the best blocker that I've ever seen as a running back. But there's
Great
times that,
blocker,
yeah,
underrated
yeah, and
blocker.
on the right. But then you watch the tape, and there's certain times where he misses a block here or there, or he doesn't use his hands like he should. He's only throwing the forearm, like little things, and so you don't see that stuff, and that's a part of the sauce that you stirring up to be able to make the meal. So,
Yeah.
I just encourage everybody to not just look at the highlights of their favorite athletes or their favorite stars or movie stars, whatever it is, but do your deep dive and find out what makes them human, dude,
Yeah.
because we all are human.
And I like what you said about your son watching the YouTube clips, because when I was a kid, I always say the most influential sports anything in my life is the 1996 NBA Finals, because I was 8 years old. That was the first thing I remember watching. And I
Yeah.
remember, of course, growing up in Chicago, we all know it was Mike Town. If anybody didn't grow up in Chicago during the 90s, it was as big as you think it was. And
Yeah.
so I remember the first time I watched Michael Jordan, he missed a shot. And I asked my mom, I thought Michael Jordan doesn't miss shots. Like what
Right.
happened? And she was like, no, he doesn't make it all the time. And so I kind of like got it like right away. Like, I like seeing those stories, because like you said, you go on Instagram, and I think this thing about social media that gets people to, you're seeing the highlights. Like, yeah, you might see that picture of them at the beach. You don't
Yeah.
know that they might be $5 in their bank account. You don't know what's
Yeah.
going on. The Rock always tell a story about the $7. I like to see the struggle that comes with it, because that there's a reason why there's only select that make it in whatever field.
Yeah.
Some people don't want to do the work, and you don't see the trials and tribulations of what goes on.
Dude, most of the time it is that they don't want to put in the work, and they don't want to have to go through the roadblocks or the detours. We live in this society now where it's instant gratification and instant success, where you can be a YouTuber and what I mean, make millions of dollars like you're a ball player. Like,
Yeah.
back in the day, there was only a certain amount of things for you to become famous. It was like be on TV, you know, play a sport, be on one of them shows like Dallas or something like that back in the
Right.
day. You know what I'm saying? And like, now there's so many more avenues. But I think the generation like my kids and and all the kids their ages, man, they want everything like this. And
Yeah.
it's not normal. And
Yeah.
when you could grab a remote, fam, and just you want to watch a movie and just be like, yeah, Moana, and then it just
And
pops
it just
on.
pops up. Yeah.
Back in the day when
You
we
remember you had to
wanted to
wait 6 months for the
we had to
VHS.
wait. Yeah, you had to wait. Or you had to, when you wanted to listen to a song, you couldn't go right to Apple
Yeah.
Music. You had to sit there and wait while you listen to WGCI or B96 and hit record so you could get that recording in and get your music. I mean, we had to wait a little bit more. And so it's hard to tell this young generation they have to wait. But through the process of being great, that's a part of it. You
Yeah.
have to wait. And there's a process, there's a struggle, there's highs and lows. But that's a part of your journey. And if you skip those parts of your journey, then it just don't mean anything, Scott. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't mean as much as when you have to grind through it and then you actually get it. Then that's when you really you kind of you admire it, you
Yeah.
cherish it, and you take care of whatever it is that you want in your possession.
And that's why I like when teams do win the championship. Like it don't matter what sport it is. It could be a team I don't even like, but it could be like the players, like the emotion. Like just with the Denver Nuggets we just saw. Like you just brought up, Jokic is great. Everybody praising Jokic now. Just 4-5 months ago, it was well, he's not this. He's only regular season. He's not better than Embiid. Look how quickly they changed up because he kept putting in the work. You know what I'm
Hey,
saying? And to see Jamal Murray from ACL to tell to come back is
don't
crazy.
don't switch up. Stay on that side.
Right? Exactly.
Stay on that side. Don't switch
Exactly.
up and come over. But we can do that now with the way that we live our lives. You and I, we strong on social. We love Twitter. We love all that stuff. And I mean, regardless, you could switch it up, but you could say something, and then somebody's going to bring and dug up what you said a year and
Oh
a
man.
half ago and bring it up and say, "Well, you said this." I mean, that's just how the life that we live now, man. And so I can only imagine what it's like being an athlete in
Yeah.
this day and age of living in social media, especially the top tier athletes
Yeah.
out there. I want to know, like, I know LeBron be reading his mentions
I don't
and
even want
like
to know what LeBron's mentions look like. I don't want to
I don't
know
even want to know what they look like either, but I just
what
know
Tom
that
Brady mentions look like. I don't want to see
yeah, it,
that.
it but it has to be tough to live in this day and age of where everybody's expecting you to be perfect, and that's not always going to happen. But man, the ones that make it, you were talking about, there's a reason why a handful make it that are so successful. They just want it more than everybody
Yeah.
else, man. They just
Yeah.
do.
Now let's go back to real quick about childhood. You just said like a minute ago that you didn't really do like a deep dive on your dad's playing career to after he retired. When you started playing like football. Now let's
Yeah.
talk about like how was it to have a legend growing up. Yeah, like to us he's the GOAT, Walter Payton. To him like he is the GOAT, but that's your father. Like what was it like? I know you told stories about Michael Jordan coming to the crib, him and your dad playing cards. What was that like as a kid?
Dude, it was crazy. It was like a movie everywhere we went. Yeah. It was literally a movie everywhere we went, and especially in the 80s, right? So like right before Mike got there, it was I mean, it was just crazy. We would go anywhere. We go to the mall, people would just surround him, like crazy stuff. Like I'll never forget, we went to see Michael Jackson at Poplar Creek by my crib. And yo, we walking in front of the stage to go backstage to see Mike. And as soon as we get like halfway, there was a camera that like popped onto my pops, dude. Dog, you would have thought MJ was walking out on the stage, fam. People started going crazy, and I'm looking up at the stage because I can see it right here. I'm like,
Right.
dog, and I'm like, I look up at the jumbotron. It's my pops and people going crazy. I was like, dog, these cats love you like that, dog. They love you. It was it was the gift and the curse because it was always so good, to have him around or, the things that we got a chance to do. My pops took me on a lot of cool trips. I think he was really trying to prepare me for, becoming a young man. And I've always said this, I always felt like he knew he wasn't going to be around for that long. So he wanted to be able to teach me some of the things, get me around people. Um, like early 90s took me to the White House, man. I got to meet George H.W. Bush, went to go play golf, went around the White House. flew on Marine One, played golf, went to Camp David, spent the night, man, like
That's
watched
fine.
Terminator 2. Like, dude, like crazy stuff, that like normal kids don't get a chance to do. But I think he was like, yo, you don't have to grow up quick. Like, I'm gonna need you to grow up quick and become a man a lot earlier and understand what it means to be a man. So for me, it was the coolest thing in the world. I think the one thing that I didn't get enough of is the relationship of Mike and my pops, because those are my two favorite athletes. And like I do tell the story when he came to the crib and played cards with my pops, and then they battled at everything from pickup sticks to pool to like Miss Pac-Man. Like they were, but to see those two together, fam,
I can only
like
imagine that was probably crazy.
dude, it was crazy, like literally crazy. And to see them at my house, it was the coolest thing, because at one point I got a chance to, and it was I think it was, I only got like four or five times to see them like interact, but there was always people around. This was at the house where nobody was around,
Right.
and just to see how both of them lived their lives and how similar they were, and how much they both hated to lose. Like losing was, it just it just didn't sit right. And so, and I get it now. So it made me wonder what it was like for my dad early on in his career when he got to Chicago in the 70s, mid 70s, because that's all they did was lose.
It was Lewis, right?
And
Exactly.
he kept his mouth shut, and all he did was kept working. He just kept working harder and harder, because in life you never know what's going to happen. And then things started to fall into place a little bit. Like things started to fall into place in the 80s, and drafts and all that stuff, and Ditka, and like things. And then it ended up happening the way he got a chance to be able to win a Super Bowl. Did that, was that the end? Was that kind of how he wanted it to be? How he dreamed all his life? No, that game definitely probably one of the worst, if
Well,
not top five worst games he ever played.
well, that's a question. Like, not to cut you off, was he really like? 'Cause we've heard in documentaries, like, was he really that hot about not scoring a touchdown,
Yeah,
or
I
was
mean,
that
I think he was just. I think he was hot about not scoring the touchdown. Yes, that was part of it. I think it has to go with what I was talking about. I think he envisioned in his mind from, when he started playing football, that he was going to win a championship. And he thought that, waiting that long to get there, this is going to be the opportunity for me to shine and ball out. But I think his greatness is that he was a decoy that game, and everybody was focused on him. And guess what? Everybody else jumped off and got off. And so for me, that's a testament to his greatness, man. So, but I'll tell you this: in some ways, I'm glad he didn't score, dog.
why is that?
Seriously, because man, that's the one thing in my life that is the most talked about. So people talk to me about the most. It's the one thing in my life that people have talked to me about the most with him, is they come up to me and they say, and I hear it at least, I kid you not, man, like two times every like 2 weeks, I hear
Damn.
somebody come up, like they all come up to me, they go, you know how mad I am that your dad didn't score in the Super Bowl? And it's like it keeps that conversation going of my pops. It keeps people remembering him, keeping his spirit alive. And I think it's a part of his legacy. And to me, I mean, I don't know what it would have meant though. Like to
Right.
me, in a blowout like that, to get the touchdown, it would get lost in the sauce. You know
We
what I
lost in the
mean?
shuffle. It's not like it'd have been like
Yeah.
a close game. Just put them ahead. Yeah, I get
Yeah,
where you're coming
yeah,
from.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
so I'm actually kind of glad that it didn't happen, man. But yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be real with you, 100. He was heated, and I never really got a chance to ask him. I did ask him, like, was he upset? And he said yes. But once he found out that he said, once I had that championship, that trophy in my hands, I forgot about all that stuff, because there was
Yeah.
people that he was close with, like Patrick Ewing, like guys like that, Barkley, these dudes
Who
that
never
didn't
won.
never
Yeah.
won. So he knew what it was like to be in that conversation to win, and to be around in those circles where you didn't win. Man, like that's like Chris Paul with the crew. You know what I mean? Like he ain't got one, and it's just
Yeah.
it's a weird feeling to
Yeah,
be
that's
around
gotta be
dudes.
weird,
Yeah,
especially being in
dude.
Golden State now. You the only one with no rings in that locker room.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it means something to be able to have a championship, no matter how you get it.
Yeah, the thing about your dad is like he's like my favorite player, and I never got to watch him play. Like he retired the year
That's
before I was born, but it's like
that's
my
crazy.
dad played me. Like me and my brother knew about him. Like in me, that's how he became Bears fan. Sweetness. Oh yeah, this Bears team's cool, but it wasn't like Sweetness in '85. And the funny thing about it is, my dad stopped watching sports after they broke up that '85 team. Like
That's
my dad only knows about the people I tell him now. Like he knows
hey,
like Steph Curry, LeBron, Tom Brady, ones that everybody know. But like he don't know. He really loved the Bears during the '80s, and he always tells me like, and it's kind of annoying because I haven't seen the Bears win the Super Bowl. So I always be like, well, me and your uncle, the Super Bowl party we was drunk by halftime. I was like, okay, Dad. Like you've been told us
yes.
like a million times, keep rubbing it in my face.
We need that though, man.
Yeah.
We
Oh,
need as much as we talk about 85 and we love 85 as Bears fans here in Chicago as well, man, it's time, bro.
yes. It's
Time.
beyond time.
It's time for this organization to take that next step and to create some new history.
Yeah.
We need it. We deserve it. And as Bears fans, I believe like, yo, man, the blood, sweat, and tears that these fans put into all this
Man.
and not switching sides and staying with this team for as long and the ups and downs and a lot more downs than ups, since 85. Um, I just believe in my heart, and I'm just hoping, I'm hoping that we're headed in the right direction right
I
now.
feel good about it. Like it's
I
not
do
like
too.
usual Bears delusion. I legit have a good feeling about the
But
direction of the
but the
team.
hardest thing is though is the same thing that I was talking about with my kids. It's patience.
Yes.
Like it's hard to preach patience to people that, you know, especially when things are seem like, oh, this is, well, we've done this before. We got a new GM. Oh, we had it, now it's a new GM. Oh, we got a new
Right.
head coach. Um, I feel so much better. I love what Poles brings to this organization. I like the vision. I understand it, and I've been bought in from the beginning, just because the first time I got a chance to sit down with him and have a conversation with him, I knew what he was all about.
Yeah.
And one of the coolest things is I don't think I've ever said this, but I don't really talk about our conversations because I just think this is cool though because Bears fans will love this. When he got into his office, uh, he took a picture of this picture of my pops and sent it to me. I didn't have his number in my phone, so I didn't know it was
You
him.
didn't know who this was coming from.
I didn't know who this was coming from. And so I'm like sitting at my daughter's soccer game one night, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, and I'm
Who's
waiting. I
this?
didn't know. I
You
didn't want
waiting
to
for
say
the
who it
follow up
is.
text.
Yeah, and the follow up text was like, just look who's in the office, representing. I'm like, dude, and he said it's polls, and I'm like, that's what's up, dog. Like
That's fire.
that's fire right there,
Yeah.
man. And
Yeah.
I've always appreciated that, and I just love the way he's going about his business and
Yeah.
just the patience. I'm patient with all this, like the same way I've been patient, and I don't know, like I've always been a Justin fan, so
I've
I'm
been a Jets
haters.
fan since college.
I've been a Justin ever since I saw him on QB
On
one, man.
QB1.
Like
Yep.
he
QB1.
is
Yeah.
that's been my dude, and so I don't all these people talking all this stuff. He's got to become a better passer, this and that. Like,
I try to
bro,
stay at my media bag when I do, but I be getting offended. I be like, all right, let's relax.
I mean, this dude he's nasty.
Yeah.
Um, but you also have to look at where he came from. Like he came from a program at Ohio State where he had legit like stud
Yep.
first round draft picks like at the receiver position. Like
Yep.
that makes your job a lot
A
easier as
lot
well.
easier.
And also too, just the way that they schemed at Ohio State as well. Like it was, but that DJ Moore is going to do that for him.
Yep.
And he's going to be those type of guys. I think Mooney is as well. I think we're only scratching the surface of what Mooney's going to be able to do because the attention that DJ Moore is going to bring to
And that's gonna be perfect.
defenses.
Yeah,
And that's what you want out of number one is that they get that type of, that type of coverage, that type of recognition. They still can get off. They still going to get off. Now it's going to open up a little bit more for what Mooney's going to be able to do. And
yeah,
like, I just envision him inside a little bit more. I want to see him in motion,
yeah.
coming off, going up against linebackers. I mean, this has an opportunity for this offense to be truly, truly special with all the new pieces that they've added.
And I'm really looking forward to seeing it up front. I'm about to begin my third year covering the team, which is a big deal. So I'm looking forward to
Crazy,
training
man.
camp.
We getting
Yeah,
old, boy.
I know, man. It's crazy. So I'm definitely looking forward to watching all that come together, man. But let's talk about another team you're associated with, man. The legendary Miami Hurricanes, man.
Uh,
The U Part 1 and Part 2, top 5 favorite documentary of mine. I've watched it more
dope,
times than I can count. And you had
dope.
the honor and the privilege of being on that legendary 2001 Canes team, man. Couple things. One, what made you want to go to Miami? To commit to Miami, play there. And two, what was it like being on, like you just said earlier,
Dude,
maybe the best
yeah,
college team ever?
fam. It was what made me want to go there. I had visits to Indiana. Only reason why I really went to Indiana is because Antoine Randall L was going to be my host, and I
Okay.
was like, "Dog, this dude
You
is.
got to take that trip.
I gotta take that
Yeah.
trip." So I went there for him, and then it was funny because the Saturday night that I was there, I stayed in the hotel to watch Miami and Edgerrin James play UCLA at the Orange Bowl, and that's when Edgerrin ran for like 200 some yards and went crazy. And I was watching the OB go crazy. I was like, "Oh, this is bananas." I went to Notre Dame after that, and then I went to Wisconsin third, and then I cut off all my trips. I was supposed to go to Penn State and Miami, and it started to get cold here in Chicago. So I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna put that Miami trip back on." So we went to Penn State first, and then I went to Miami. I didn't have the greatest time on my visit, but it was the guys there that were on my visit that weekend with me. Like it was Vernon Carey, who was like the number one player in the country from Miami Northwestern, offensive lineman. It was Andre Johnson, it was Portis, it was all these dudes, and we were all there. And I remember Tom Lemming used to have a book back in the day that you had to flip through to like look at to see these dudes. And I know at one point I think I was like in the top 50, like top 60,
Mm.
and all these other dudes were like in the top 20 that were on my visit. And I was like, dang, bro. And they sat outside and they said out the apartments one night on campus, they said, if we all come here, we have an opportunity to win a championship. And I never heard that anywhere else. Like I never heard it on any other trip. And I was like, dang, these dudes is committed. And Pops told me, like, don't just go somewhere to play, go somewhere where you can win a championship. And I was like, man, let's do it. I got to come here. And that was one of the biggest reasons why I went to Miami. But then I also love Butch Davis and Rob Chazinski, who recruited me. So those were my guys. And then, yo, being on that team, when I got there in '99, it was rough, man. We were just
Still
like,
trying to rebuild.
yeah, trying to rebuild, man. And it was rough. And there was just dudes that were grinding hard, like Santana Moss and Reggie Wayne. And these dudes grinding, grinding, grinding. And then it was 2000 when I really saw the work ethic and like things started to change a little bit. And I mean, I've never seen a team, I've never been on a team that worked as hard as going into that 2001 the season, man. It was crazy. Like cats, we policed ourselves. When Butch Davis left to go to Cleveland,
Yeah.
like Ed Reed and those guys went up to Paul D, AD, and was like, "Listen, like keep it in house. Don't go out and get somebody that's out of here because we gonna win a national championship. Just keep it in house. We got this." And it was right, man. Like you don't have to worry about coaches coming to get you if you didn't go to class. You were more worried about walking in that locker room and
And your
cats
teammates
finding out
on
that
you.
you
Yeah.
jeopardizing. And to me, that's what makes it special. That's what made it special. And we had each other's backs. We played for each other and we knew that if we balled, that everybody was going to shine. And then after that game, outside of our facility. No, it was like a Cadillac dealership. Now cats had Escalades,
Yeah.
the Batman doors, like tan fade on the side. Dude, it was the coolest thing. And then I had big bros in the league, so when I needed something, my big bros always got me, man.
Yeah, they
Shouts
took
out to
care of you.
Jerry. Hey, shouts out to Jeremy Shockey. Shouts out to my boy Brian McKinney. Always had your boys back when I needed something. Needed some new rims.
They
Got you.
hooked you up.
I got you. I needed the two I needed the 312s in the back. I got you. Let's go.
Right.
Like meet me at Bank of America. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And you know that's just kind of like how the Miami culture is too, man. Just like everything
Yeah.
they got down there now. Like you were just bringing up, Jeremy Shockey, Brian McKinney. Like we know how dominant they were off the field, but it's kind of like what you can tell. What was it like? In the city, like when this team is
Oh, dude.
dominating. Like I
We
know it
were
was probably a different level.
no, it was different level. We were like the pro team at that time. Like Cat said was playing on the Heat and Dolphins. Like there was cats waiting to get in the club before us, and we ain't making no money. Like they
Right.
trying to get in with us. We like, yo,
That's
y'all buy,
crazy.
buy y'all buy bottles, we got you. Like y'all can come in. And so I'll never forget that night. There was after my first start in Tallahassee, we flew back to Miami that night, and we went to Privé. And I'm waiting outside. Dude's like, "Hey, what's up, man? Yeah, yeah, good. Let's chill real quick. Just wait. Come in after this next group." I see this big bodyguard. I see some girls. And then I see Jay-Z and I see another bodyguard like, "Follow Jay." And I'm like, "What?" We followed Jay up to the VIP. Dog, I'm sitting on these white couches and he's on the other side of me. Big Pimpin's playing and we singing. He's looking at me like I could throw something at him and just
He was
hit
that
him
close.
that close. And like we jammed all of his songs. And that night, like it started to get real cramped and crazy. And back here in Chicago at the time, there was that club that like people got stuck because there was too many people.
Oh
Like
yeah, what was it? E2 or something like
eat
that. Yeah.
exit, something like that. Like yeah,
Yeah.
so like I remember that, and I was like, dude, when things started to get packed, I'm out of here, and it was already early in the morning, so I ended up walking out. It was me and my boy, and I had my little Sprint phone with like 16 MP3s on it, and I'm like just looking at my phone, can't go on the internet on that thing. I'm just like looking at it, and Jay comes up and taps me on the shoulder, and he was like, "You Peyton?" I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Man, watch you today at the Clevelander, man. Keep doing what you're doing." He dapped
Oh,
me
that's
up, and I was
fire.
like, "Yo,
And as a Jay-Z stan, I am a proud
yo,
Hove venture. I am jealous of that moment.
dude." When Hove did that, I was like, so that showed me in life, and the how cool the moment was made me understand a life lesson. Dog, you always gotta put your best foot forward. You always gotta try your hardest, like all the time, because you never know who's watching.
Right.
Like you never know who's
Never
watching.
know.
If you would have
Yeah.
told me that Hove was watching that game, I was already nervous. I would have been even more nervous. Like, what?
Right.
Jay-Z watching? So the fact is, you just never know who's watching. Always got to put your best foot forward. And that night was crazy, man. I think about that night all the time.
I'm glad you said that too, because one thing I try to tell people. Like I've had people ask me, like, we're getting into podcasts and looking at numbers. And I'm not saying numbers don't mean nothing, but like it don't matter. It could be out of them. Let's say 30 people watching your video. You don't know who of that 30 is watching your video. Like when I found out a couple Bears players actually heard of my show, it like blew my mind. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like
dude.
you don't know who's watching. So that's what you're saying with Jay. Like for Jay to pull you to the side, it's like, damn, like, that
Dude.
type of stuff keeps you going.
You gotta keep going, man. You gotta, put it out there, put your best foot forward, try your hardest, and try to put your best product out there, especially being on TV. You just never really know. Podcast, whatever it is, someone out there might be feeling that vibe and be like, man, something about him that I like. I'm gonna give him an opportunity. I'm gonna give
Right.
him a chance. And a lot of the times in this business that we are in, I've gotten gigs because of people who follow me on social media and were like, man, I love what this dude is all about. I'm gonna give him an opportunity. It's on me to be able to perform, but
Right.
they open up the door for me. And man, I'll never take it for granted, man. I'm super blessed.
Definitely. And speaking of performances, man, let's talk about your big performance with Miami, man, the 2004 Orange Bowl. You the Orange Bowl MVP, 22 carries, 131 yards, man. Tell me what that and against your hated rival, Florida State. I know that was like
Dude,
chef's kiss. Tell me about
dude,
that night.
it was, man, that night was crazy, man. A lot of people don't know this, but like leading up to it, on my birthday, my sister's best friend committed suicide. So it was leading up into the new year. And my birthday's the day after Christmas. So it just couldn't it there was a lot of emotion going on. I like had her name written, her initials written on my arm, and like I just remember like just being in a different mode. I was just in a different mode, and everybody, I watched Sean Taylor just dominate the first game that we played earlier that year, and you get a couple of runs, and your guys are blocking for you, and they trust you, and you make a few runs. It gives you an opportunity to just be feeling it, and so. I was like, man, I'm gonna go out here with a bang. This is the last time I get to wear this uni. I'm going out with a bang, man. And to be on the field with guys like him and Sean Taylor and Vince Wilfork and man, there's so many names. Kellen Winslow Jr., like all
Yeah.
these names. To be able to say that, I brought that hardware home, man, I look at that trophy almost every other day when I walk in my basement. I look at it.
That's
My
fire.
wife, my wife's got fake oranges in it from like she bought from Amazon, and that right there every single day shows me, man, if you work hard, you can make anything happen. I started the West Virginia game. I'm not even sure when that game was, but I didn't get the full season. But I was on pace, bruh. If I would have started the whole season and Frank Gore goes out with a knee injury, that's my brother. I didn't want that to happen. But if I would have been starting from day one, dude, I was on track for like 1,300, dude,
Yeah.
1,200. You know what I mean? Like just to be able to pick up where I was and come a little bit short of 1,000 yards, man. Like it still irks me to this day, but it's also an accomplishment because I did have 1,000 yards, and some of those negative carries brought me back down to like 980 something,
980 or
right?
something
Yeah,
like
yeah, like dog, come
that.
on. But to be in that mix, man, like with some of the names that EJ and Portis and McGahee, and it just shows that like, yeah, I might not have the career they did, but dude, I had it in me, man, and I didn't play this game from like out of the womb. I
Right.
started playing this game basically like six years before that, and
Right.
and went down to one of the best places to play football. So, hey, it is what it is. I learned a lot. I would never trade it because people keep asking me, what happens if you would have went somewhere in the Midwest? Like if you would have went to Big Ten school, you could have been out in 3 years. You could have got carries and this and that. But I don't know if I would have learned discipline and how to work. And I'll take my career at Miami and what I learned off the field and how to work than going somewhere else and having a longer NFL
Right.
career. I trust
Well,
serious.
with your NFL career, so you played 1 year with the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah.
You also went to NFL Europe. We played with the Amsterdam Admirals. Now, tell me, what did you learn from that experience?
Oh man.
Through that, like what was some of the the ups and downs in that situation?
The longest year of my life. That was the longest year of my life. Literally got done on like practice squad and all that stuff that first year, my rookie year. I went home for like 4 days, got all my stuff, flew to Tampa, played like 4 scrimmage games, then hopped on a plane, went overseas, and played 12 games, won a World Bowl championship, stayed healthy, came back home. I was all NFL Europe, came back home, had like less than a week before camp started, and then went right into camp. And I was like, my body just hit.
Just tore up.
My
Yeah.
body was just done. And what I learned from the experience overseas was, remember I told you, you never know who's watching.
Yeah.
Well, all of our games were on NFL Network, and they were playing inside of our locker room. So guys like Steve McNair, my offensive line, everybody was watching me, and I was balling. And when I came back, a lot of these guys went to bat for me. Like Steve McNair went to Fisher's office and was like, "Whatever it is, this kid's got to be on the
Oh
team, man.
wow.
He's worked
That's
way too
crazy.
hard." Yeah, dude. and my offensive line did the exact same thing. Like they all went in there and vouched for me. That's man, I can't even tell you, Scott.
Means a lot, yeah.
That's what it's all about, man. Like that's what it's all about. That you work that hard, that cats were watching you and saying, "We need this dude. I don't care what happens. He's got to be on this squad." And I'm thankful for that, man. That's what hard work and dedication does for you, and being able to stay healthy and you get an opportunity and take advantage of that opportunity.
Especially when it's like your peers, especially like a guy, of course, if you're a running back and your offensive line is going to back for you, that says a lot right there.
Yes, sir.
But to have a guy, Hall of Famer, MVP like Steve McNair, I know that was crazy.
Dude, I'm like, I owe him so much, man. That's why, like, when I post stuff on, his birthday, the day he passed, it means a lot to me because he handed me my 2 touchdowns in the NFL. And one of them was in Houston against the Texans, and it wasn't even called for me. He switched it up so I could get it.
That's fine.
So, I mean, he had confidence in me. And when he started having confidence in me, it made me elevate my game even more. I was like, I can do this, man. So, but sometimes it's a number game, right?
Yeah.
Because then next thing you know, the next year comes in and, they start making some moves. They brought in this kid, Damian Nash, God rest his soul, man. That's my boy. And then, what's his name from USC?
Lindell
White. And Lindell. And so there was just not a lot of room for all of us. And so, it just happened that way. But that's the other thing. Then I went up to Canada. I played in Montreal in the CFL. That was probably one of the best times of my life of playing ball there and having a good time and seeing something. But it's by 2007 that I started to really understand the game of football, like really, really understand it, where it just became like almost second nature. So
like
think
natural.
about it. Yeah, I started playing football in like 98, 98. And then next thing you know, by 2007 is when I started to really feel comfortable.
Crazy. Yeah, a decade in, man. It takes that long sometimes, man. You got to put that work in, man. Let's talk about like your current career right now, your media. Like I just brought up, when we started about, being around you, Bang, and Sean, how that got me going. What got you into like, oh, I want to do media as a career? Like, where did that happen?
Shouts out to Sylvie and also Carm, man. Like Carm and Sylvie had their show back in the day on ESPN 1000. And they'd always give me an opportunity to come on when I was like playing, just to like come in, talk, and just tell stories and be on the airwaves. And that kind of gave me the juice, that battery on my back, like, yo, let's go. And so it was like 2010. My boy Ernie Scatton called me. He was like, yo, I got the job at Illinois Center for Broadcasting. We're trying to put together a radio show. Would you want to do like an internet radio show for like 3 days a week? I was like, yeah, I guess so. Like,
might as well.
I'm playing indoor football. Like, I'm at the end of my career. Like, I got to do something. And that's when I got in, man, and really started to learn from everyone how to run a show, how to book guests, like all that stuff, producing, and then also just coming up with content every single day, like how you're supposed to do it. And it just it got me hooked, man. And then I went to NFL broadcast boot camp out in Mount Laurel, New Jersey. And Nate Burleson was in my group. A couple other cats were in my group. We had the best group there.
I'm about to say that's a nice class right there.
Dude, it was crazy. So Nate is blown up.
Big time now, man.
Big time, man. Yeah. So like I got a phone call from someone from ESPN and they were saying like, we're doing a college football show. We want you to a guy who was over talent at ESPN. He was like, yo, I follow you on social and I want to give you an opportunity. Like, I know what you're all about from afar. Like, you're a good dude. I love what you tweet. I love all that stuff. He's like, I'm going to give you an opportunity. So I flew up to Bristol, and it was me, Cassidy Hubbard, and dang, so
you was able to go to the Death Star.
I went up to the Death Star. Yeah, I went up to Bristol, man, and got an opportunity to to kind of see what it was like, and I did it for a whole entire football season. The only thing was I just didn't like being away
From
the
home.
fam.
Yeah.
Yeah, from the fam. And my son was just born. Dang, why can't I'm always forgetting dude's name? Oh, he gonna kill me if he ever sees this too.
I know how to.
Christian
I be
Christian Fourier
Christian
from
Foy.
tight
Okay.
end. He used to play for the Patriots. Yeah, Christian Fourier. So yeah, man, we it gave me that opportunity, and then God willing, man, then WGM Radio gave me an opportunity, and that folded in 9 months. And then TV called me and said, "We're trying to do this show, sports feed." Well, they didn't have a name for it. They was like, "We're trying to do this hour show on CLTV. We want you to be a part of it." And I was like, "Nah, I'm good. I'm cool." So I only want to do radio.
Right.
And then next thing you know, um, man, I'm here, man.
Sometimes you gotta say no to some things, man.
I
Like,
know,
yeah,
but it's here. I'm glad I took advantage of the opportunity. And Jen Lyons, who used to be here over the news department, she believed in me and she gave me the opportunity, and the rest is history, man. Now I'm here. You know what
is
I'm
there
saying?
like
I got a team around me. I mean, Chris Bowden, Caitlin Sharkey, Josh Fryman, like we're a team, man. Like we're a strong team too. There's no team like us here in the city. There's just not. I don't care. It doesn't happen. And it's not about to me the individual because
it's
everybody's
about
like,
the
what do
team?
you like the dude? Well, if I'm the dude, then that's cool. But I'm gonna make
Yeah,
sure that everybody on my squad is right. And all three of them are family to me, and we got all of us got a bond. So I get a chance on my show GN Sports every single night. I work with someone. I get Chris Bowden on Sundays. I get Caitlin on Monday and Tuesday, and then I get Josh on Wednesday, Thursday. I'm the only one that works with everybody.
shout out to all three of them. I always run into them at
All
Hallis
all th-
all the time. Yeah,
all three are amazing, man, and it's just an honor to work with all three of them and that we all get along. And that's rare in this business that everybody gets
man.
along. That's why I say, man, our team is the strongest here in the
Yeah.
city, man. And like we're doing something that's special. And I'm just happy to be a part of it.
I'm glad you brought up teams too, because like I just like really over the last year I was able to build our team at Barbershire, and it's like about a year and a half ago, it was me and my brother and peers, of course, they're like we all started a company together, but like on the day to day, it was really just me a lot. And that it's a lot to deal with. But now I have like a team, and like it helps. Like it just helps so much that people who might be better in one thing than you are, or and it just makes the whole thing
Yeah.
go together. They joke around. I don't know if you watch Succession, but they always joke around, call me Logan Roy. But when we all like work together, and it just helps everything like flow
It's
so naturally,
it
man.
has to be. You can't do it by yourself, man. Like there just
Yeah.
can't be. You got to have a team. Everybody's got to be strong. And I think that's what makes us special, man. And I look forward to coming to work every single night. So I'm just happy, man. I'm in a good space. Like for real. We good over here at WGN, dog. We
It's
good over here.
always good to be in a good space in this industry, man. Before I get you out of here, man, I want to talk about your entrepreneurship that
Dude.
you got going on right
All right.
now.
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna be honest with you. Right now, there's only two things, and they're the biggest things popping. It is my two restaurants, dog. Flagship on the Fox, we've been open for 5 years now. We've been through a pandemic.
Congratulations on that.
Thank
That's
you.
huge.
Hey,
Yeah.
we've been through a pandemic. We opened up 9 months before the pandemic hit. We weren't set up for anything infrastructure wise. We had to get all that stuff, put it in house, and we're killing it. Right out of the pandemic, we opened up Duke's Northwoods, which opened up a couple of months ago, and that's cool. So basically, I have a Bears bar and a Packer bar that are right by each other, fam. So you heard me, Scott. You
You
heard me,
got a
right?
bear and a packer ball.
Yeah, that. Because listen, the reason why is because Green Bay Packer fans, their money's green too, and I'm gonna take it.
I'm
But
glad you said
hey,
that.
the reason why it's got this Northwoods feel, yeah, there's Packer stuff that's inside of there, but there's Bear stuff at Flagship. My idea was my wife is from Wisconsin. My wife loves Wisconsin. loves the Packers. She loves the Bears when they're not playing the Packers. That's why I married her. But we also, she's from a small town and she went to UW Platteville. That's where the Bears used to practice. So
Mm.
back in the day when she was like, at some point, we probably crossed paths when we were little when I was up in Platteville. So it's cool because we have these two spots. What we're gonna do 2 times a year when they both play each other is we're closing out the parking lot outside because literally you can walk from one to the other. They're right
That's that
by each
close.
other. They are
Yeah,
literally a football field away from each other. It's not
that's
no joke. We're gonna have games and stuff where Packer fans and Bears fans come out. They get
that's
an
fine.
opportunity before the game at halftime to come like do what they got to do, and then go their separate ways. Go back to their
Come
separate
together,
ways. Yeah, they come
merge
together.
together,
They
spend money.
they can play bags. They're gonna
Yeah,
be able to throw like have like a contest and all that stuff, and then they're gonna go back to where they need to go, and it's gonna be so fire. And as a businessman, that's what jumped out to me first
yeah.
is marketing these opportunities that what we can do with both. And man, they both have been a blessing to me. And so we're not stopping here. We're going at a slow pace, me and my business partners. But at some point, man, we got two concepts that I think that can go different parts of the country where we can really start branching out. And I think that's a long-term goal. But as of right now, it's really just keep growing the presence, having people come in and staying packed like we were like all weekend long. It was crazy this past weekend.
I mean, it's always always gotta have long term goals, man. I got a whiteboard in my room. And I like to call it a Pat Riley board. You know, Pat Riley
Yes.
board. I got
Yeah.
it in my room. I got stuff that I want to do 20 years from now. Like that, I just like I wake up to it every morning. I see it there. That I
Write
want
it.
to do. You know what
I'm
I'm saying?
glad
Write it down.
I am I am glad that that's what you did because that's what my wife and I did for me. We did the same thing when I got released from Tennessee. We wrote down stuff like what I want to accomplish, what I want to do, foundation. And that's the other big thing that I do is our Jarrett Payton Foundation. Like we, I've spoken to over like close to 100,000 kids over the last like 10 years here in the
That's
Chicagoland
fire.
area, and it's about just creating mentors and creating leaders in our community that can like show that they have those leadership qualities and hopefully pass it on to other people either in their household or in their community. It's those things where we wrote them down and we're actually doing them now. And it's cool to be able to look at it and go, dog, it took me 6 years, but we got here now. Like
Yeah, yeah.
we made it here.
And it
So
feels good when you knock it off.
yes, sir.
It feels
Yes,
good.
sir.
I put personal stuff in it. Shout out my homie Pappy. I moved out here with him, and I think it was like 3 years ago. I was like, man, I have my own damn apartment. I was like, I love my brother, man. I love but I need my own shit. And he was like, you know what? I'm gonna get this other place. I was like, that is amazing.
Let's go. Let's
I was
go.
able to take care of the place I got right now, but. Man, I could talk to you forever, man. I'm glad you came on here, man, to do this episode with me. Let everybody know where they can get in tune with you on social and everything that you got
Man,
going on.
hit your boy up at Payton Son, PaytonSun. If you hit SON, you're gonna get my son. But guess what? We still connected there as well. So hit me up there on Twitter, IG, Facebook, all that stuff, and then you can kind of funnel from there. I got all the other accounts kind of linked to it, and you can see what's popping and what's going on, man. We Listen, all my goal is I just want to be an inspiration for people to show that like you can do it, no matter what happens, no matter what your last name is, like don't matter. If you want something, you can go get it. You can achieve it. Just takes a little bit of hard work. If you need some help, dog, if you out there watching this, follow your boy, man. Like I'm always gonna be there for you. One thing you've never seen, and most people haven't. I do have bad days, but you will never know.
You never know.
You will never know.
Yeah.
Scott, you named I am the happiest dude, always smiling, dog. You never know, man. And like I've learned through time that like we were talking about being perfect. You're never gonna be perfect. I messed up on TV last night trying to say the name of the interim Sky head coach. And I was like, back in the day, I'd be mad at myself, like so mad, so mad. But I know how to flip it. I flipped it like made fun of myself going out
Yeah.
to break. Like I don't know, man. I said my mom was watching, but she's probably not gonna watch anymore if I keep messing up. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah, you
I,
gotta make light of yourself,
you
man.
gotta make life shift because that's what it's all about, man, and having fun and just know every single day that we wake up, man, we have an opportunity to do something great, man. So never I'll never take it for granted. Just always work.
Definitely, man. Once again, thank you. I appreciate everybody watching. Of course, everybody watching another edition of the off season, man. I want to shout out everybody who is a Barbershop Network fan. Everybody watches HNB Media, which this is on as well. Shout out my guys, Pavi and TPJ. So we'll holler
Yes.
at y'all. We'll holler at y'all in a couple for next episode of off season, man. We out of here.